morning, good morning. I'm your host, Ty Sonaline.
Co-host Carl Williams.
It's pretty nice outside today.
Yeah, it's my kind of weather.
Your kind of weather. You want to talk about those traffic tickets, those $45 traffic tickets?
Yes, we're going to talk about those illegal $45 traffic tickets. I got one, and when you get one, they tell you you can plead responsible or responsible with explanation, or you can plead not responsible. Now, what I found interesting is I went down there because I thought it was supposed to be a hearing, but then when I looked at the ticket, it didn't really mention a hearing. But normally, they mention a hearing. So I went down there, and I'm sitting down here, and I'm waiting. They have a administrative judge. I didn't get her name, but she be down there, and the only thing they concerned about is how you gonna pay. They don't ask you how do you plead. They don't ask you nothing. Just only how you gonna pay. And I said, well, damn, that's kind of strange. I said, I never been to a hearing like this before, where you just come in, and I thought this was supposed to be a hearing, and you, even though you, which I did, I entered my plea by mail.
So you can either plead by mail?
Oh, yeah. See, a lot of people don't know that, but you can. You can enter a plea by mail. Matter of fact, on the ticket that I got, it said that you can plead, had to be within 30 days. In 30 days of when you get the ticket, you can, if you're not going to pay it, you can plead not responsible and go in for which I thought was the hearing, but it's not. Because after I went up there before the magistrate, I'm trying to explain, and they didn't want to hear none of that. I said, well, damn, what kind of crazy stuff is? I said, well, I appeal. I appeal. And I found out that is the catch. When you get one of these $45 tickets, and if you want to plead not responsible, you must tell them that you want to appeal. Then they will give you, talk to you, and give you a date to have a conference. Now I'm waiting on them to send me my date for the administrative conference, and I guess that's where you really talk to another semi-judge.
Okay.
But they don't, and I did a little research, I'm reading, and they even say on there that they don't want to hear what happened or how it transpired. That's all they want in so many words. It's just for you to pay. But when you get that ticket, I don't care what kind of ticket you get, make sure that you look at it. Because one thing that is very important, and that is, it has to be signed. A lot of these tickets that you get now are not signed, that the police officer, when you get it, it's like an electronic ticket. And its signature is stamped on there. It's no signature. No. And then like the last one that I got, didn't even have their name. They initial it. Well, that's not what the law says. The law says that it has to be a signature.
So he signed his with an X, huh?
Right.
Police officer signing with an X.
With an X. And, you know, and they said it has to be handwritten. I think that's MCRAQ.
Wow.
Now, because a lot of these tickets, you know, could be thrown out just on that alone, because the officers is supposed to be swearing under oath what has happened. And even when I looked at mine, and I went back and I read, and they said, well, wait a minute. they're assuming that when you get this ticket, that you get it in the presence of an officer. But that's not true with these meters. The officer is not there. The officer is nowhere around. Matter of fact, you get your ticket when you come back to your car, then you see you got a ticket.
True.
So that's a violation of the law right there. Because the law states clearly that in the presence of an officer, well, you wasn't in the presence of an officer when you got the ticket.
You know what statute was that?
That's, I think, 4.101 in the traffic court thing, and then the other one is...
So that's the city code?
That's a city, Michigan court rule section. They got a section there for traffic court.
Yeah.
And I think it started at 4.101. And it's another one. It's the Michigan compiled law says the same thing. So you got two statutes that says that.
Okay.
And that's very important about the signature, because these tickets, and another thing about these $45 tickets, the $45 ticket is illegal on its face, because this is something that Kevin Orr, with a Y, he proposed this right before he left, but this proposal never went through the process. Just like we talk about a bill all the time, you got steps that you got to go through in order for a proposal to become a law.
Kevin Orr wasn't an elected official, was he?
Never have been an elected official.
You're talking about the unelected Kevin Orr?
That's right. Unelected Kevin Orr did this. And I'm reading, they talking about he did this and that.
But you know, ladies and gentlemen, when you impersonate an elected official, that's a crime.
Yes, it is.
And that's all the man was doing. He was impersonating an elected official. And I know what a lot of you say, well, the governor brought him in. The governor brought him in to do what? Wash the dishes?
He got a contract with the governor.
He got a contract with that Governor Gangster Snyder. And it was totally illegal, and I don't know why the people don't know it. I know the average citizens don't. If you don't think about it, he wasn't elected to anything, but all of a sudden he could tell you what to do. And then you'll say, well, 436. They know the number on the law, right?
Oh yeah, they know
Public
that
Act
now.
436 brought in emergency management. Public Act 436 is illegal. And it says clearly in 436, which you never read a page of, that he cannot, in that law, it said that he could not remove an elected official. Any elected official. That means if you were elected to the county, to the school board, you were a county commissioner, you were head of a city, what else? Anything you were elected to, the people that were elected, he removed one of the pension trustees that was elected to that position, but they didn't know it.
They didn't know it.
They go to court with a lawyer, this chicken-eating lawyer, double-agent lawyer.
Yeah,
they never read the law. How are you going to claim somebody did something wrong and you never read the law?
Never read the law.
Never read Public Act 436, but everybody and their mama jumping up and down talking about what the law said, and the only thing they can come up with was that they took away your right to vote. Isn't that something?
Boy,
that's crazy as can be. You know, we got some calls. We're going to get some of these callers out the way early. Caller, you on the line. Go ahead.
Good
Hello?
morning.
Good morning.
I'm just getting some waves. Hey, I want to let y'all know something, man. Maybe for next week or when y'all go on break, let your producer know that from 9 o'clock, y'all can be heard saying everything from Good Morning. So I know you might want to keep the mic off or whatnot. So
Okay.
I just wanted to bring it to y'all attention. So if anybody was listening from 9 o'clock, we heard everything y'all was saying. And it's not the first time I told y'all that before, remember?
Right. They always get the mic on, but we're not saying anything nefarious. We're not plotting over throw the government.
Well, I ain't saying that. It's just the point. You know?
I understand.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what the open mic is, and I appreciate it because
Yeah.
that's now. What are you talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Is how for some reason the mic is on during the break, whatever the people on the line, and maybe you at home can hear exactly what we're talking about, even though there's a break and people are on. So one of the things that happen during those times is when they keep the mic open and different dignitaries and people are talking, and that's when they caught Jesse Jackson saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
I just can't stand that Obama, President Obama. I just want to cut his testicles off." See, that kind of stuff is embarrassing. But that was the open mic. I dig what you're saying, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right, right. Hey, I got a question, man. 'Cause I ain't heard nothing about that city council they was on for that bribery. What's his name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. He on the city council. They was on him about last month, but I ain't heard nothing else about it. Y'all heard anything about it?
Who was that?
Man, what's that? Is it Ayers? City
Ayers.
council down there?
What did he do?
He supposed to get caught for bribery.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't know.
No, that's
There's a whole lot of
me.
folks being caught for bribery lately. A whole lot of folks being caught.
But I was just asking. I ain't know if I heard about it.
Okay, then. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right,
Appreciate
I'll
it.
take care.
Caller, you on the air.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to
Tuesday.
you.
So the city council won't let everybody know that this bogus bankruptcy had nothing to do with any of the elected officials filing for bankruptcy. They just gonna sit there and keep their mouth shut.
That's what they doing, but who's calling them out? Who's saying to the people that was there doing the bankruptcy, that Brenda Jones that wants to be congresswoman,
Right. Congress, right.
and what about the Spivey's? They were there,
Yep,
Spivey and
yep, they were there.
who was the other guy?
Yep.
Tate.
Tate,
Well,
Tate, he
even
was
the
there.
past people need to. Can they speak up, or they still scared?
Well, they
Or they
got
got them cushion jobs, so they can't say nothing, right?
they got tape around their mouth.
Yeah, they got cushion jobs too.
Yeah, handkerchief head. Well, vote them out.
Yeah, one is over the DTE, and the other one is over the future of Detroit. So I guess they can't talk, but they got a good payoff. They still getting paid to keep their mouth shut about this grand theft. Well, we live in apartheid Detroit. I just found out that the water affordability plan that the vote had passed, but you hear nothing about it through the administration. You hear nothing about letting the people know that there is such a plan that was voted for. So that just confirms to Detroit. One gets elected, respected and protected, and the rest of them get disrespected, not served or protected, mistreated, and completely neglected. Folks got to wake up, like you said, and read. Because like what you just said, 436 there, you cannot remove any elected official. So that says it all. So everything that was done wasn't done by our elected officials. And they sit there and won't tell us nothing. And you know the people are already dumbed down listening to 274. Control media's mouthpiece. And thank you, Carl, for the information on that ticket. But Ron March had been told me what to do with them tickets and send it right back immediately before them 30 days. And I was lucky a couple of times when I went to court and I beat tickets. All right, thank you, guys. Love you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, we want to talk about that bankruptcy and how, you see, I got some information here on the bankruptcy where the man says the city's pension contribution in particular did not play a role in pushing it into bankruptcy because they did not contribute materially to the increase in the city's legacy expense. That added to the cash flow shortfall. So it says here that the city's pension contribution particularly did not play a role in pushing it into bankruptcy because they did not contribute materially to the increase in the city's legacy expense that added to the cash flow shortfall. While the city's health care contribution did not increase, this was largely because of rising health care costs nationally, not because the city's benefits were too generous. In fact, a comparative analysis of Detroit's retiree benefits showed that its pension and health care benefits are in line with those of other comparable cities. Wow. Isn't that totally different from what we were told, what we heard concerning the pensions and the liabilities were out of line in the health care costs? And what is it? This was the study from, I think, Demos.
Yeah, Demos.
Yeah, Demos, Demos.
Okay.
And this is by Wallace Tuberville, Senior Fellow. And he wrote a paper, did a study on the Detroit bankruptcy. Now, here's some things they talk about. State revenue. State of Michigan has exacerbated Detroit's revenue crisis by slashing $67 million in state revenue sharing with the city. Now, we've talked about that a lot of times over the years, where the city of Detroit did not receive its revenue sharing money from Gangster Snyder in violation of the Michigan Constitution. Oh, wow, y'all don't even know what the Constitution is, do you? All you civics folks, everybody that had civics now, you don't know the governor's got to follow the Constitution, or he's illegal, and nobody's going to say anything about it. None of those black politicians anyway.
Well, it's in violation of the act itself,
What,
a Revenue Sharing Act,
Well,
because it says it has to be unrestricted.
Well, they got it there. It says, so they slashed $67 million revenue sharing. About $24 million of those dollars were cut due to the revenue shared pursuits to the Michigan State Constitution, allocated among cities and towns based on the population. Detroit's allocation reduced because of what? Because of the population lost in the 2010 census. Now, it was very important. A lot of people say, oh, the census is not important. You shouldn't count the people. What you're counting the people for? Now you know why. We've been telling you that all the time. The population is based, how much money you get, it's going to be based on the population. How much money cities, townships, and counties gets, and even the states across the United States get, is based on a population. So we allow the mayor to do what? Tear down all the houses in the city of Detroit. Tear them down where people don't have anywhere to go. They're going to run your population out. We don't want the black folks here, so we just run you out by tearing down the house, shutting off the water. Gangster in the mayor's office. And y'all happy with it, though. Happy as a lark, because you got he got a hamburger, chicken sandwich or something, some chillings. He probably had chilling fly with them
Some
crazy
of them didn't
folks.
get nothing but a photo op.
A photo op, they just stood along with the
Stood
mayor,
up there and grinned.
and they were happy.
They were happy.
However, the remaining $42 million, or 64%, of the total state cuts were due to statutory revenue sharing and were at the discretion of the state legislature. Now, so the state legislature, the Republican-controlled legislature, cut the Michigan or Detroit budget. They cut the Detroit budget. Now, I thought they had a grand bargain, Carl, to give the city money to stay out of the bankruptcy.
That's what they said.
That's the lie they told. But then at the same time, they cutting the revenue sharing money out of the state budget, out of the city's budget. So the city of Detroit got less money. Wow.
They had to do that to try to justify that lie that was telling about Detroit was underfunded and need to
The
go to
bankruptcy dealt because you couldn't support yourself, and the council went along with it. The Dave Bing was mayor then. He went along with it, but he was a Republican. All these Democrats, all these Republicans walking around in Republican clothes, Republicans walking around in Detroit suits saying they're Democrat in order to be elected mayor
See, we done had two
of
Republican
Detroit.
mayors.
Two? What are two?
Yeah,
Dave Bing and
Dave
which
being
other?
the one we got now. If he ain't a Republican, I don't know what is.
Well, he might be.
By his actions, anyway.
They might be considered a blue dog Democrat. You know, they're the ones that didn't care. They want to be Republicans. They want to go with the Republicans, so they call them the blue dog Democrats. Well, on the other hand, the yellow dog Democrats say they'll never vote Republican. They don't care what kind of Democrat they got in office. They're going to vote Republican. I mean Democrats. So y'all trying to confuse me with all these Republicans turning around to be Democrats and vice versa.
That's why we catching hell now. We got all these Republicans in control.
So it says in the legislature, by cutting revenue sharing with the state effectively reduced its own budget challenges on the backs of the taxpayers of Detroit and other cities. Wow. But the Constitution says they were supposed to give them the money. And they got a revenue sharing act the Carl just referred to that says the dates, the 4 dates out of the year that they have to give you the money. So they held the money, and some places wouldn't give them any money. Highland Park, Ben Harbor. Who else? What's that other city they did? Flint. They did it to all, especially the major black cities. Okay, see, now you see what happened, because I know y'all thought, oh, the black folk don't know how to run nothing. They didn't know how to run a year. Yeah, tell me about it. Y'all don't know what you're talking about.
How you going to run something and it's being sabotaged every day?
Now look at what the man says about the expense, about the city's expense. Contrary to widely held belief, Detroit does not have a spending problem. Since the onset of the Great Recession, that was back in 2008, 2009, the city's total expense have actually decreased. The expense has decreased by $356 million. Can you believe that? The expense in the city of Detroit decreased by $356 million?
Yeah, because they were lying in the first place.
Driven by a 38% reduction in operating expense. They said that was $419 million in absolute terms. They call that the operating expense. They had a reduction, although its financial expenses have gone up. Although its financial expenses have gone up, whatever that means. Financial. Oh, that's the money they borrowing. Oh, that was part of that bond thing. Okay, the financial. Okay, let me read that again. The city's total expense actually decreased. So that's when you throw everything in there together. Now, what about the city's? The city has provided significant tax subsidies to a large number of enterprises as incentive to engage in development projects in downtown Detroit. In some years, the city handed out as much as $20 million to private interests, but they were supposed to be broke. To the extent that the development would have occurred without these tax subsidies or with less subsidies, the program was a burden on city revenues at a time when it was particularly damaging. So outside experts say that these subsidies are damaging or hurting the city. We need the revenue, and the city council, in their stupidity, what should they call that? Wisdom.
What kind of wisdom?
Wisdom are giving away all these subsidies to billionaires. They're giving it away to the Illiges. What's that other guy? what's that other guy? Nobody knows. The
Gilbert.
Dan Gilbert's, Gilbertville, he want to call it Gilbertown, giving all these subsidies away, giving them money. They don't have to pay taxes, and the man say it's particularly damaging. In any event, the subsidies have not yet been received should be treated as obligations of the city in the same category as debt service and funding of future employee business subject benefits subject to readjustment to help resolve the cash flow crisis to extend revenue is not increased to the extent revenue is not increased to cover the demand on cash. Wow. So it's an obligation. This should be treated as an obligation because now the city is short on cash. So there is going to be a shortfall in the future based on these knucklehead council people giving away the bank, giving away money that they don't need. No other city's doing that. And if they do, let them. They'll be in the same shape Detroit is in. Then we running people out of the city by closing down the schools. Keep telling you can't close down the school. Y'all just vote for anybody to be school superintendent, and the first thing the man talk about, is shutting down some more schools. Not opening up the schools. He's talking about video. We talking about video over to the superintendent when you need to fire the school board and the superintendent. Now all of a sudden, you want to have bus service to the charter schools. Well, how the hell is that helping the public schools? And Carter, you know the paper said they want to charge $25,000 for a pupil? They're only getting $7,000 from the state. What are you talking about? Where they get that figure from? That's what that's what the newspaper says.
And he probably, it ain't nothing but a money grab. When you got Republicans in charge, this is what you get.
And suburbanites, they want the money to go back to Livonia or anywhere but the city of Detroit. Because they're here to rape and pillage the city of Detroit. It's amazing, ladies and gentlemen, how everybody is saying that the city was broke, city wasn't broke, city's expenses went down. They say that, I'm going to read this about the health care benefits. While the city's health care contributions did increase, this was largely because of the rising health care costs nationally, not because of the city's benefits were too generous. Oh, you mean to tell me the city's benefits were not too generous? We know that. People that work for the city know that. And in fact, a comparative analysis of Detroit's retired benefits showed that its pension and health care benefits are in line with those of comparable cities. Isn't that something? Isn't it amazing how they just get on the drum beat and lie, won't nobody say anything different? They got a legacy expense here, operating in the pension and all that. Let's take some calls here. Some callers been waiting a while. Caller, you on the line?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me put the point of fairness. I'm trying to get this. Okay, I got to speak up. I'm sorry. For a point of clarity, the state legislators pass an illegal law that violates the Constitution, and the governor signs it into law. Then the city council consent to it, to those memorandum of agreement. They sign them. And then the court allows for that, those illegal laws to be implemented, and they interpret them as right. The question comes again, like I asked you last week. What do we do when the lawmakers, the courts, the interpreter, the executive branch of a city, the legislators, as the city council, all agrees with it, and got the Council of Baptist pastors with their hats off saying, Jesus bless us, as they kill us. Then I asked you all, what do we do? Because if you say go to court, I seen you all go to court, and I asked you, why didn't we win then? Because you all knew. And you said last week, we didn't give support. I want to continue that. What type of support do we give you when you're right? Because I went to court with you all a couple of times, and that guy, Smith, I think it was, Judge Smith.
Yeah, Virgil Smith.
Virgil Smith.
He put on the ballot the illegal district city council. You all argued against it, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And then he had no kind of law to back him up. And he walked out of the courtroom, and they put it on the ballot. And the court, when you all asked, you said, come down there, you all, and it was full. So I said, now what do you do? How do you fight? Do you continue to go to court? And you all said, yeah, but you got to give us support. Now I want to know, what kind of support do we give you all when you all are right? And you still, the court still rule against us and against the Constitution. Do we still keep going to court like a dog chasing his tail when we see that all of them are working in cahoots against us? Do we still go to court? I would just dialogue a little bit on that. What kind of support do you look for us to give you?
Enough support. See, what you fail to
All
realize
right.
is that we only had a handful of people supporting us. Very few people even know what happened back then. You know, because you was there.
About 6 of them.
Yeah, but if we would have had more people would have been aware of what was going on, well then that's the kind of support we talking about. We ain't talking about just a handful of people that you can count on your one hand and your feet. We need the majority, well, not the majority, but a nice amount of people in the community to understand what was going on. Now, we could have got that kind of support, then it would have made a difference.
Well, you know, Virgil Smith, Sr., you know,
Yeah,
shoot him up's father. You know, we talking about shoot him up Virgil. That's the junior that shot up the car, girlfriend's car, and well, it was running to be. What was he running for? Council. Okay, so Virgil Smith Sr., his father, Virgil Smith Sr. is a circuit court judge. Now, with the people understanding or even knowing about what happened, we would not continue to vote for Virgil Smith Sr. See, we vote for people that don't care nothing about the city of Detroit. They pimped the city of Detroit for years. He was a state senator, Virgil Smith. He was part of, he was one of the leaders in getting rid of Recorder's Court.
Yeah.
He was the manager or the floor manager. That's what we call him, the manager on the Democratic side to get rid of Recorder's Court. You always had a bunch of black Uncle Toms from the city of Detroit. This stuff that we see cannot work without these Sambos and Uncle Toms or whatever you want to call them, handkerchief heads, traitors going against us. So Tyrone was right. The man said what he had to say and just walked out. He didn't know what he was doing no way. And they tried to tell us we was in the wrong courtroom. We had filed the wrong motion, all kind of stuff. They had us wait around there for a couple hours, and there wasn't nobody in there but us.
That's
and
right.
some people from the county doing those foreclosures. So unless people are aware of their rights to vote these people out of office, they're going to continue to do it. And I don't care if they're a black person, they got a black face, they not for us. They are not for Detroiters. Snyder put him in there. He was appointed to the court by Gangster Snyder. Now that's how the man got in there. That's how he originally got to the court. When it was term limit, when they didn't have anywhere to put him, they put him in Wayne County Circuit Court and then made him the chief judge.
Yeah.
Made him the chief judge. So the more we know that this stuff is wrong and we go to vote, we'll start voting these people out and get better folks, and therefore we will see a change. But we got to do something, and unless somebody can come up with something better, but we want a all hands on deck approach. The people that march, let's march. The people that go down to City Hall and protest, let's go down to City Hall and protest. That's when they get scared, when they see a bunch of people coming in, don't they? When they want to call the police and throw everybody out. And see, they feel like Spivey and James Tate and all the rest of them, they feel like, well, we don't have to vote for you. We don't have to do what you say. We can keep on giving away the city's money. They don't have to give away. But they're going to give it away anyway. Just because they say, the heck with you, what you going to do? They just thumb their nose, and it's too simple to vote them out. That's too simple. Now look, here's something else that happened with this Detroit bankruptcy. It says here, and this is something most people are not even aware of, how the city got into this problem. It says the Detroit financial expenses have increased significantly, and that it is a direct result of a complex financial deal Wall Street banks urged on the city of Detroit. It's during Kwame Kilpatrick days. Over the last several years, even though its precarious cash flow position meant these deals posed a great threat to the city. Even though the deal from the onset posed a great threat to the city, they went along with it. The biggest contributing factor to the increase in Detroit legacy expense is a series of complex deals it entered into in 2005 and 2006 to assume a $1.6 billion in debt. Now, why did the city borrow $1.6 billion? And what did they do with the money? Now they got us, let me show you something. You're talking about a sleight of hand.
That's sure enough a sleight of the hand.
If you're talking about the magic show and a sleight of hand, the Wizard of Oz, and somebody was smoking mirrors, man, if this in the biggest smoking mirrors, you have never seen a distraction. Kwame Kilpatrick, former mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, was nothing but a distraction. They had you looking over the water department, didn't he? And a few contracts he said he gave to his buddies. Oh, we gave him a $20 million contract. As long as he had the word million, oh, look at all this money they threw away on Ferguson, on Bobby Ferguson, all that. What about this $1 billion? You didn't even know about it.
No,
You didn't even know it was going on. No, I didn't know either. We found that out in the bankruptcy thing. Going down there reading through them papers, they were sitting up there talking about the bankruptcy and the swaps. That's what they ended up calling them, so they wouldn't know. Say instead of issuing plain vanilla general obligation bonds, the city financed the debt using certificates of participation. They call them COPs, Certificate of Participation, which is a financial structure the municipalities often use to get around debt restrictions. $800 million of these COPs, Certificates of Participation. Whoa.
You need to say that again, to get around.
Which is a financial structure. COP is a financial structure that municipalities often use to get around debt restriction. Now, they use this to get around a constitutional limit on the debt. that the cities can borrow. Now, how come they didn't put Kwame Kilpatrick in jail for that? Why wasn't that one of the charges? Oh,
Because he wouldn't have went by himself.
because he went by himself.
He'd had a whole lot of friends.
A whole lot of the Wall Street people.
And it wouldn't look like us.
Oh, they wouldn't have been black like us?
No.
Oh, come on. Shut your mouth now. 800 million of them CLPs carried variable interest rates. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What you mean the variable interest
Terrible,
rate?
huh?
Variable interest rate, which the city synthetically covered it to a fixed rate using interest rate swaps. Well, now don't ask me what they did. We know what they did. They switched it. They went to a variable. Well, we know what a variable is. We know what happened during the variable race where you got those mortgages and you didn't know it was a variable. It wasn't a fixed rate. And your mortgage, your payment went up, didn't go down. So that's what happened to the city. And then when they went to the fixed rate, when it went up, they locked them in at the higher price.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Kwame Kilpatrick got an award for that.
Yeah.
They should have called it the Dunce Award for being duped more than anybody else. Oh yeah, Wall Street. I don't know what kind of award they gave it. How do you give a man an award for giving away all their money, $1 billion?
Dumb award.
Well, that's crazy. These swaps carried hidden risks. What? These swaps carried hidden risks. Now, they went from COPs to call them the swaps. And these risks increased after the Federal Reserve drove down interest rates to near zero in response to the financial crisis. The deal included provisions that would allow the banks to terminate the swaps under specific conditions and collect termination payments would entitle the banks to immediate payment of all projected future value of the swaps to the bank's counterparties. Such conditions include a credit rating downgrade, which the city got, of the city to level below investment grade, to a level below investment grade, appointment of an emergency manager to run the city, and failure of the city to make timely payments. Now, how in the world did they know there was going to be a financial manager law in 2006 or before 2006? How did the banks know? How did Wall Street? This come off of Wall Street now. They were the Goldman Sachs boys and the Chase Manhattan boys. They come up with this money. Before there was an emergency manager law, how do you put that in there? How do you put that in there? How do you do that?
That's what you call a plan.
Oh, we call that a plan?
That's what you call a plan.
Oh man, that sounds like a sure enough conspiracy to me. Now do you see how devious it is? And y'all walking around there talking about, you know, y'all colored folks can't do nothing. We need a white man. We need a white man.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the Reverend Wendell Anthony sitting on the pension board. But then he was appointed to the pension board.
Can't tell you nothing.
You can't, would you say he can't tell her nothing?
Tell you nothing.
He don't know
Ain't
nothing
told
about
us
it.
Nothing.
What did he know? He just sat there.
Well, he should have been trying to find out something.
Man, yeah.
We don't need him up there if he can't tell us nothing.
Where's the next party? Yeah, and where the next trip he could go on? Where they going to Hawaii or Bermuda or where? That's all that was. They had the swaps carried hidden risks, and these risks increased after the Federal Reserve drove down interest rates to near zero in response to the financial crisis. The deal included, we talk about the swap deals, included provisions that would allow the banks to terminate the swaps under specific conditions. Now, how you going to terminate something? Oh, if you don't take the money, we can terminate on you. Okay. Well, that's funny.
There's
the city of Detroit, but wait a minute, the city of Detroit can terminate their contracts. It's in there.
But they don't.
It's in the city charter. It's in the code. It's in the contract that they robbed me. They can terminate the contract. But how come they don't?
Because you ain't got a bunch of fools up there who don't know how to do it.
don't even know they can do it, do they? And then you have these, what do they call them? What is it? I'm trying to think of it. Like Fitch, the Fitch agency that gives out these investments, Moody's and Fitch, and that other one. They have three of them, and so they're gonna say, you know what's happening. We all know what's happening now, so they're going to downgrade the city's investment based on how much money they was going to receive from the banks. They're all in there together because Fitch and Moody's, what was that other investment?
S&P?
What? No,
Fitch,
well, anyway, they
Moody's.
come to me. They're the ones that said these junk bonds were A plus investments that they sold all around the world. When the financial thing hit, we found out what it was. Investor, what do they say about this? Such conditions included a credit rating downgrade. So you know Fitch and Moody's downgraded the city to a level below investment grade, appointment of an emergency manager to run the city, and a failure of the city to make timely payments. Well, we know the city made timely payments. Projected future value balloons in low short-term rate conditions. This is because of the difference between the fixed swap payments made by the city and the floating swap payments projected to be paid by bank increases because of all events have occurred. The banks now are demanding upwards of 250 to 350 million in swap termination payments.
Man.
Just to cancel it, they want $250 million to let you out of the contract. Now, you know, those people down there in the city of Detroit couldn't read it all, couldn't
Oh, they got to be the most.
they? They got into something they ain't never heard of, a swap deal. These swap deals were particularly ill-suited for a city like Detroit. I mean, any city, really, huh? For a city like Detroit, which has been hovering on the edge of a credit rating downgrade for years because of the risk of credit downgrade below investment grade was so great, the likelihood of a termination was imprudently high.
Sound
they
like a
are-
Ponzi scheme to me.
Now, it sounds like a plan. Didn't you say that was the plan?
Yeah, the plan.
Oh, man.
And I
these
say a
people-
Ponzi scheme
Oh, yeah.
because that's what Judge Rhodes' book is. And I'm going to send all for it today if they still got it.
Okay, let me cut down here because we want to say the law recognizes special duty that sophisticated financial institutions owe to special entities like cities in providing complex financial products. A strong case can be made that the banks that sold these swaps may have breached their ethical and possibly legal obligations to the city in executing these deals. Never heard that before. Never heard that before that you got a bunch of crooks out here. Caller, you on the air. Hello, caller. Caller, you on? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going to 10:30. We will be going to 10:30. We're going to take a break at the top of the hour. We want you to stay tuned, and it's not break time yet. Caller, you on the air.
Yeah, when you talk about a financial manager, you know Puerto Rico is under financial manager. You know that from 1980 to 1990, out of 15 largest cities with large population of blacks, you had 7 of them. And they all started financial emergency managers to destroy the school system of those cities, and that was to reduce the population. So the financial managers was well known before they implemented it in Detroit. Now the second thing is that when you say that you was honest, Hassan, you say that all the courts and stuff was illegal that's done, and with Smith, that we got to go, as your solution to support was we got to go to vote. Well, you don't forget, Janice Wilfrey and Dexter Baxter has been changing our vote. When we vote no, they've been voting yes. They vote of Navonia Mike in. So that is not the route of support. We know the court system, we can't win there. And when you suggest that we vote those people out of office, we can't, because Janice Wilfrey and them is manipulating the vote. There's something else we got to do, and that's mass direct action. That's the only thing we can do. Okay, now.
All right, thank you. Well, I think
Well, it's all about learning the process, and he forget that once before, I think when there was an Obama election, they had the feds in here to oversee the election, and we still can do that.
all right. Hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a FCC required break at the top of the hour. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Tell your friends and everyone. Mr. Engineer. Well, I guess he's going to take it. Mr. Engineer, you there? Do we have time for another caller? Caller, you on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
All right. Happy Tuesday, both of you.
Happy
Go
Tuesday.
ahead.
One, I want to say that this coming Saturday, May 12th, is the Hood Research Meeting at the Dabo Center, which is on Grand River and Wyoming. We'll be there from 2 until 6. And we're expecting a woman to come and talk about the census. You mentioned that early on in the program. And also, you were talking earlier about a multitude of ways to address our issues. We have to multitask. We have to. Because people want to do one thing, somebody wants to do something else, and I think that's fine. Just address the issue and whatever method suits you. Because the more pressure we put in more areas, the better it is for us. And even though we have people who work hard to manipulate the vote, when Barack Obama became president, I'm sure there were a lot of people trying to manipulate as well. However, when you had an overwhelming number of people who actually physically went to the polls, it was successful. So I still say that much of the information that you are sharing is vitally important. And there's a man, his last name is Beasley, who I'm understanding is going to get about 11 years in prison for stealing $250,000 from the pension fund, the city pension fund. And I guess my question is, when you were saying that Wendell Anthony was on the pension board, was he trying to get a loan so that he couldn't pay attention to the money that was being stolen? You know, why be on the board if you're not monitoring the actions of the board members?
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Sure, please.
All right. Caller, go right ahead. And don't forget, we're going to go to 10:30. 10:30, make sure you get your coffee. Caller, you on.
Yeah, I had another quick question when y'all had mentioned those with that bankruptcy stuff. And I noticed the city council, Brenda, she was standing behind Duggan on the news, I think about a week or two ago, when they was talking about some probably other scams. But with that bankruptcy, is it a way y'all can get her to comment on that?
To get her to come.
I would like to hear, or anybody down there on the city council, because I would like to hear what they got to say about this stuff. You know?
Yeah.
You know, like Tyrone said, what is the next result? We shut off from the courts, and the other ones go. I've been preaching it for the longest, and they know this, man. Look, they when Chief Craig, well, y'all chief got here, y'all remember him saying we about to do a sweep. Yeah, what they sweep was to take as many black men off the street as they can. And they took over down there 100,000 black men. This here in the city of Detroit. I ain't talking about Highland Park, or I'm trying to here in the city. Check the numbers out through the MDOC. But that was their plan, and I've been saying it for the longest. You know, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to let y'all go. Detroit is nothing like Chicago. Detroit are some punks. And I've been saying this for long. Until they get up and have that riot, ain't nothing going to change. Period. Y'all talk uprising, whatever you want to call it. What's the
Okay.
other option?
All right. We'll be watching it.
I bet you they get that voting straight then.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're certainly right about that one. They'll get it right then. Mr. Engineer, you there? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. If you're on the line, stay on.